So, everyone, we're here to celebrate, not finally remember, the life of Steve Pivovar, who in each one of us touched us differently, certainly. But I think the one thing that resonated with him, and that's why we're all here together, is that he was such a positive influence. He'd look you in the eye. He was a straight shooter. And that doesn't always happen in the game of life, but we could always count on him being Piv. And I think it's really important to know that my favorite story with Piv would always come up to me, ask me how I was doing. He would always convey to me how much he hated the bracket buster event. But he was always Steve. And no matter whether you're up or down, when you stepped away from him, to me personally, he was such a positive influence, and he resonates with me still. I think that's a true measure of a human being, that just because they're physically gone, if they continue to be with you, that's really the measure of a man or a woman. So, love Piv very much.
Piv.
I'm sure all of you experienced this. He would arrive at the games in Peoria in a sweatsuit, fresh off the road from Omaha, and maybe an hour or so before the game. And he would rush into the bathroom, change out of his sweatsuit into his shirt and tie, look great. And as soon as he'd come back, he'd sit down at his typewriter. I said, "Well, man of Steel, you gonna write a great one tonight?" And he, of course, would come up. Always a great comeback from Piv, something like, "Well, Clark Kent never wrote a bad story," or something like that. But that's something I'll always remember about him, is he wouldn't stay in a hotel. Later on, I'd say, "Piv, Warren will put you up for a night," but never would stay. He wanted to always get back home. So, once again, to Piv.
Piv.
As somebody who came in a little later than when Piv started, I don't know what year Piv started, but I just want to say how helpful he was to those of us who were new to the league, kind of helping us learn the ropes, helping us how to be professionals within this league, kind of get to know people and all that. And Piv was great at that too. He's never, he wasn't overt about it, but he was very helpful to us, and I looked up to him, having come into the league along with Dave, along with Wendell Scranton, who isn't here today, but who wanted to be here. And I miss his humor. He was the funniest of the beat writers, I think, very droll. And I think we all miss his making us laugh, and I know I do. I'm sure I speak for almost everybody else. So, Piv, I guess.
Piv was the first beat writer I had an opportunity to work with my time at Creighton. I don't know if it was because of me, but a year after I got there, then they put him on the Nebraska beat. And then right when I left, they brought him back to the Creighton beat. But I always enjoyed the time I spent with Piv, a few road trips along the way. I know how much he loved the tent behind home plate for the Creighton baseball games, and the Creighton Sports Complex, favorite place of his. But we did have some great stories back there during baseball games in the cold, in the tent. But I know how much it meant to him when he did come back on the Creighton beat and to cover the Missouri Valley Conference again. I know he would be very appreciative of this gathering here today, because I know he enjoyed so much working with everybody here in this room.
Well, I'll say I always loved his road warrior mentality. He loved the Valley, and part of it was because, as was noted, he could drive everywhere, and he did drive everywhere into Valley games. And it's kind of hard to drive to Providence, Rhode Island for a basketball game, so he was not happy with that. But I think one of my fondest memories of Piv actually involves a run here this year. And sitting in the hospitality rooms at this tournament, listening to them decide what Valley teams needed to go and which ones needed to come in, not based on basketball, but on baseball.
We all miss him very much, and wish he could be here, wish his university could also be here. But we certainly miss him.
You're here.
You're here.